Hello and welcome to week 4 of the Mindful Yoga series. Today we'll be doing seated poses, so please go ahead and find a comfortable yet sturdy chair, preferably without armrests, as all of our positions will be done in a chair today. And then once you're seated, I'll have you sit in the middle of your chair, not all the way to the back and not all the way to the front edge, but just right in the middle, with feet hip-width apart right underneath your knees and your hands resting on your lap. Our first pose is seated mountain. And in this pose, we're sitting with intention. So starting with the sit bones, we're going to try to even out the weight between both sides. Encourage a little bit of space between your rib cage and your pelvis by lengthening through the spine, keeping your shoulders back and down, and lengthening up through the crown of your head, keeping your chin level. Take a moment to take a few easy breaths here. Noticing the simultaneous grounding through your sit bones in the chair and lengthening up through the top of your spine. Feeling strength in your midsection. And then we'll go ahead and take our arms, bending at the elbows, and bring the hands in front of our chest. And we're going to wake up the hands and the wrists a bit. So we're going to go from a spread finger position to a clenched fist position, making sure not to squeeze so hard that we're giving ourselves white knuckles. And then moving back and forth from spread fingers to clenched fingers. Noticing any differences side to side, noticing any change in sensation from the extension to the flexion. And then go ahead and let those hands come back to rest on your lap. We'll then move our heels forward a bit so that the balls of the feet can come easily off the ground. And we'll start by doing a gentle windshield wiper motion with our ankles. So our hips and our knees are relatively stationary, and the motion is all coming from the ankles. Moving as far left to right as is comfortable. And then come back to rest in the center. And this time we'll change the motion to the toes. So as we did with the fingers, we're going to extend the toes and then clench the toes. Extend the toes and clench the toes. Thinking about spreading the toes apart and lengthening them and then curling them under as far as is comfortable. And then you can go ahead and let the feet come back to rest on the ground. Next, we're going to couple the motion between the hands and the feet. So we'll bend the elbows once more, bring the balls of the feet off the ground. And as we clench our fingers, we're going to spread our toes. Then we'll clench the toes and spread the fingers. Clench the fingers, spread the toes. Spread the fingers, clench the toes, clench the fingers, extend the toes, extend the fingers. Good. Now we'll do left and right together. So we'll move the left foot and the left hand, and the right foot and the right hand together. So we'll start by clenching the left side, extending the right side, clenching the right side, extending the left side, extending the right side, clenching the left side, clenching the right side, extending the right side, extending the left side. Good. The final progression will be to work at the diagonal. So we'll have the left hand and the right foot be called A, and the left foot and the right hand be called B. So we'll start by clenching A, extending B, extending A, clenching B, clenching A, extending A, extending B, clenching A, extending A, clenching B, clenching A, and relax. Good. From there, we can bring our ankles back underneath our knees, remembering seated mountain once more. And this time we're going to move our awareness into our shoulders. So we'll start by paying attention to the right shoulder. We're going to bring the right shoulder up in the direction of our right ear, and at the same time dropping the left shoulder down towards our left hip. We'll continue the motion by bringing the right shoulder back towards the back of the room as the left shoulder comes forward. The right shoulder will then drop as the left elevates. The right will come forward as the right goes backward. So it's as if we're riding a bicycle with our shoulders in the reverse direction. And as you continue this motion, try to make it as fluid as possible. Try to discover how big of a circle you can make with each shoulder. And notice any spots that feel a little sticky or uncomfortable or not equal with the opposite side. And just notice it. Don't worry about fixing it. And then we'll come to rest and reverse the direction. So now we're riding the bicycle in the forward direction. Bringing those shoulders from the backward position up and around to the forward, dropping them down again, and starting over. This direction may bring on different sensations than the backward motion, and that's perfectly natural. Also scan throughout your body to see if you're holding tension anywhere that you don't need it. The legs can be relaxed. The low back can be relatively relaxed. All we're working on is the upper back and the shoulders. Take a moment after you've completed the motion to recognize any lingering sensations, even now that you're at rest. And then we'll bring our hands together in front of our sternum. As we breathe in on our next inhalation, we'll interlace the fingers, raise our elbows up to shoulder height. We'll breathe out, poke the fingers forward, and dip the chin, but keep the spine long. Then reverse those fingers so your palms are facing away from you. Breathe those arms up overhead as far as is comfortable, and then exhale them back down to your side. Once more, we'll bring those hands together in front of the sternum, palms together. Inhale, interlace the fingers, let the elbows raise. Exhale, poke those knuckles forward, extending the elbows and dropping the chin. Reverse the hands out in front of you. Inhale the arms up overhead, and exhale back down to your side. Once more, let's bring those hands together. Inhaling, arms up. Exhaling, arms out, dropping the chin. Reversing the hands out in front of you. Inhaling, arms up overhead. And exhaling your arms back down to your side. From here, we'll keep the left arm relaxed at your side. Feel free to bring the right hand back to your thigh. And with your next inhalation, we'll turn the palm out to the side and breathe it up overhead as far as is comfortable. With your exhalation, we're going to tip the body slightly to the right, keeping the shoulders and the hips square so that we feel a stretch through the left-hand side of our body. Take a moment to check in with where the weight is on your sit bones. Even though we're leaning to the right, we want to try to encourage the weight to be equal through both sit bones. And then try to direct your breath into your left side. So with each inhalation, directing your breath to lengthen. With the exhalation, letting the stretch deepen just a bit more. And then with your next inhalation, we'll sit tall once more, and then exhale that arm back down to the side. Trying it on the right side now, we'll bring the left hand back to your thigh, and drop the right arm down to your side. So as we inhale, we'll turn the palm away, arm coming up overhead. Exhaling this time, bending over to the left side. Keeping shoulders and hips square, keeping even weight through your sit bones, and trying to let your breath feel natural. Imagining it nourishing the right side of your body this time. If on either side it's difficult to bring your arm up overhead, you can always rest your hand on your shoulder and just focus on the side bending motion rather than the shoulder motion as well. With your next inhalation, we'll sit tall and then exhale that arm back down to our side. Our next pose is called the as if chair, and it's designed to practice using the muscles that we use regularly to go from a sitting position to a standing position, making sure that we're starting with appropriate form. So we will scoot a bit forward towards the front of the chair for this one, and we'll bring our heels behind our knees, just so. And then we'll take the pinky sides of our hands and place them in the crease of our hips, where our thighs meet our midsection. So to practice this as if chair pose, we'll take a breath in, sitting nice and tall as we do so. And as we exhale, we're going to bend at the hips, keeping the spine long, and then pressing down through our legs as if we were going to push ourselves into a standing position. We'll inhale, sit tall again, let the legs relax. Exhale, inhale, sitting tall once more, and on your next exhalation, bending at the hips, pressing down with the feet as if you were going to stand. And then relaxing, returning to a sitting position. This is using the same muscles that we would use if we were to actually stand. And we can progress to that if you feel comfortable. If this is challenging enough, please stay here. But if you'd like to progress, you can inhale inhale as you sit tall, exhale as you bend forward at the hips, and this time actually raising yourself up into a standing position. We'll inhale, stand tall this time, and as we exhale, we can bring the arms out in front of us instead of in our hip crease this time to balance ourselves as we sit back down. So if you will be standing, feel free to bring those arms out in front of you as a counterbalance. We'll still inhale, sit tall, exhale, lean forward, load the legs, and come to standing. Take a moment here, inhale, lengthen, bring those arms out, hinge at your hips, bending the knees, and returning to sitting. One final challenge, if you feel the need for more, is instead of coming back down to rest on the chair and shifting your weight into the sitting position, you can hover above the chair and then return to standing. So what that looks like is breathing tall, exhaling, hinging forward, loading the legs, standing up, taking a moment in standing, inhaling, lengthening, exhale, hinge at the hips, come down as far as you feel comfortable without sitting, and then return to standing. So once more, inhaling, standing tall, exhaling down as low as you feel comfortable, and then returning to standing. Making sure that the hinge is coming from the hips and not from the back. The knees should also not be passing the toes as we bend down. So our backside should be sticking out as if we were going to sit down. So we'll go back to sitting, and we'll move on to our next pose. So back in the center of our chair, we're going to let our arms rest at our sides. On the next inhalation, we're going to bring them up to shoulder height. And as we exhale, we're going to cross the left arm over the right, giving ourselves as big of a hug as we comfortably can, letting your arms rest on your upper arms or your shoulders. Seeing what it feels like to elevate those elbows so they poke straight out in front of you. And sitting tall, lengthening up through the spine. From here, you can add a gentle twist, making sure that your shoulders and your arms move together. Not trying to find the ends of your motion per se, but just adding a little bit of rotation to nourish the spine. We'll come back to center. Inhale, sit tall. Relax those elbows. And then on your next inhalation, we'll spread those arms out and exhale them down to your side. We'll repeat that process, this time with the opposite arm on top. So we'll inhale the arms out to the side. This time as we exhale, we'll cross the right arm over the left. Grab onto those shoulders once more. Just noticing if there's any more flexibility this way than the first way that we tried. Again, experimenting with raising those elbows up, pointing them forward straight in front of you, all the while lengthening through the spine and letting your breath flow naturally. And when you feel ready, we'll go ahead and introduce that slight twist once more. Again, not trying to find the boundaries of the motion, but just noticing how this changes any sensations you felt with the arms being crossed. And then we'll stop in the center once more. Let those elbows relax. Inhale the arms out to the side, and then exhaling them down. For our last pose, we'll bring our hands to the back of our chair. So back behind our sit bones, with a little bit of bend in the elbows. With your inhalation, you'll sit tall, lengthening up through the spine, lifting your sternum towards the ceiling, and looking up towards the ceiling without a big back bend, still trying to keep the neck long. And then as we exhale, we'll return to the upright position. So inhaling, feeling a slight back bend through your lower back and middle back, keeping the neck long. Exhaling, back to sitting with good posture. Let's try this again. Inhaling, lifting through the sternum, placing a little bit of weight through your hands as your elbows bend. And exhaling, back to neutral. Once more. Inhaling, lifting through the sternum, looking up towards the ceiling, and exhaling back to center. You can then go ahead and bring your hands back to resting on your lap. And that's it for this week.